Welcome to Vanderbilt Business Live. I'm Eric Johnson, and I'm here today with Professor Kejia Hu. Professor Hu is a scholar in operations management and the Brownlee Curry Dean's Faculty Fellow. She focuses on unlocking business value from data, and her domain of expertise lies in service operations, artificial intelligence, and business analytics. Welcome, Professor Hu.
Thank you, Eric, for having me here today.
Well, your most recent research has been focusing on the degree of standardization across supply chains, specifically looking at the nursing home industry, which of
Yeah.
course has been in the news a lot over the last months and years. What did you explore and what did you find?
Yes, this is definitely a very exciting research. My co-author Luke Kong from University of Florida and Rohit Verma from Cornell working together. So this one is talking about how standardized a service chain need to be. So we know that a service chain can decide how unique or very standardized their units to be performed. But then in this interesting research, we want to understand whether the degree of standardization on different dimensions
Hmm.
will impact their performance financially and also on some interesting outcomes that we care about. Okay, so particularly for this research, we collect a lot of data from nursing home industry, 11 years covering entire nursing home industry in the US. And that give us very detailed understanding of how the industry performed over years with different shocks. So what we do is that we look at three operational outcomes. Number one, customer mix, so who they choose to serve. Number two, service offering, which is what kind of service I offer. And the last one is service delivery, how they deliver the service they choose. And then we look at the standardizations on these three operational dimensions and to see whether the standardization will bring good performance financially or on the quality of care from the clinical side and the quality of the care from the customer experiential side. So that completes the basically the interest outcomes and also the variables that we want to explain that difference. And what we found is that, okay, using very customization strategy in service delivery, but standardization in your customer mix will improve financial performance.
Hmm.
However, from the quality of care side, we find that, okay, if you really want to aim for good quality of care clinical side, then standardize your customer mix. But then if you want your customer to feel happy, like enhance their residential experience, you want to customize their service delivery. So basically you see that not always going with one direction of customization or standardization is the key. It's really about choosing the right dimensions and then choosing the right standardization or customization with it.
That's fascinating. I mean, certainly within operations management, variability, is often the thing
Yes,
that we're thinking about. And
right.
what was the motivation behind this study and what makes it different?
Yes, that's also a very good question. So when I came to US, I really like to visit a lot of the national parks. And one thing I like about the US travel is that no matter where you go, you can always find the familiar restaurants or the lodges that you crush. So that gives some sense of security for all the travel places
Sure.
I've been to. And then looking at today's service industry, if you look at their behaviors, 70% of the activities are currently performed by chain organizations,
Mhm.
right? Think about the restaurants we dine in, the hotel we stay, and the clinic we visit. They're mostly chain affiliated, okay?
Mhm.
But then if you look at the strategy, you immediately find not all organizations going to agree that whether I want to pull out the standardization card or the customization card. McDonald's, right? That's an organization who really just replicate their service offering and want to have the best efficiency and quality controls across all its units. But then at the times people will argue, go with the customization. It really empower those units suit local demand, competition, and utilize the local resources. So we find that there's really a clear answer about whether go with standardization or customization. And different from previous studies who usually propose one side of the strategy, we're saying that, okay, company doesn't need to be, okay? They can actually choose a hybrid strategy. I'm going to decompose my operational dimensions and I'm going to standardize on some dimension and customize on some other dimension. So based on what I just described of our findings, you can see that, okay, based on their service target or their operational priority, they can determine whether I really want to customize on customer mix, service offer, and service delivery. Another benefit I think from our study is that the three-way decomposition that we use in our work: customer mix, who they serve; customer services, what kind of service they offer; and also the service delivery, how they deliver services, can really comprehensively cover all operational dimensions a service organization care about, and that can also guide them to determine like how they want to design their hybrid standardization strategy.
That's great. So it sounds like you're really already thinking about this. I mean, the things that other service firms could learn from these findings. Yes. And it's this idea that you may customize or map your service strategy against some other set of strategies that you're working on as an organization.
Yes, totally. So I think the exciting part is that when we generate our findings, we also talk our findings with practitioners, service industry experts, and also policymakers in that arena. So I consider that our finding can shed light basically for three stakeholders. So number one, of course, is for those currently chain operators. Okay, our findings can guide them, like which dimension you want to customize or standardize based on the operation target. But then another interesting feedback we got from the nursing home industry leaders is that they say, okay, you findings actually can guide us in our merge and acquisition activities. So these days, a lot of chains use merge and acquire new single units to achieve their chain expansions. Mm-hmm. But then our findings tell them which unit you should acquire and how quickly merge them into your chain operations. So these give them some ideas about, okay, which unit they should approach. So that is some of the actually practical impact we hear from of the industrial leaders. They're saying they are using some of our results for it. And the third one, I think, is really for the policymakers on this arena, because for some of the CMS officers, we talk about who frequently monitor the performance of nursing home. Our finding actually helped them to decide some policies and also generate some best practice protocols for players in this market, telling them, okay, these are some of the protocols that can get you to achieve better clinical care or better residential welfare. So that's also give them some kind of suggestion and recommendations for policy making.
That's great. Well, thank you, Professor Hu. And thank you for watching Vanderbilt Business Live.